The scene where Victor and his dad get together and actually see each other, there's that very long pause. What's going through Victor's mind in the moment?
Ooh, good question. Uh, what was going through Victor's mind? Oh, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I think there's something that I've been speaking to about today about Victor's fear of that moment and the lifetime lost between these two people with his father. I think I think that there's so many things going on in that moment. And I think, the vulnerability, both of them, I think, in that moment, and how they're thinking each other's going to be perceived.
Mm.
I think that the big thing that really resonated the most with me is when we were doing that was I think the guilt of what Victor's feeling. That he says to him in that moment after that, when they finally embrace, he says, I, I didn't know how to get back home. And I feel like, there's just so much about this thing with Victor in failing his father in some way, failing his father in this lifetime lost, and what all the things I think that are going through Victor in terms of his guilt about his mother, everything that's happened. Um,
Mhm.
but there's something that's also being resolved in that moment too, obviously, right? That lifetime lost is coming together. Um, it was a beautiful scene to shoot, and Robert Joy, who plays Henry, so wonderful, and it was so rich and emotional, and I just remember there were just so many things going on when we shot it. But that's the big thing that resonated with me the most, was this idea of, like, did I do all this? You know?
Yeah, and without giving too much away too early to readers,
Yeah.
that does come up quite a bit later. So do
Mm.
you think seeing his father brings those feelings to the surface more so than some of his other experiences might
Yeah.
have so far? Is that part of what motivates kind of what comes later?
Yes, that's a great question, and I think yes, it does, because I think then what it becomes is Victor's already trying to push past this fear of everyone dying in order to, and bad things happening, to do the. I think the task only becomes more selfless for him when his father's there, because now it's about saving him, and maybe saving that lifetime that was lost. That definitely becomes part of it. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh, now what? No.
yeah.
So with everything that he's seen and done, what
Yeah.
do you think his biggest fear is at this point?
Failure.
Just flat out.
I
Um,
think so. I think that's just what came to mind as soon as you asked that. I think that's another great question, and I think that, because again, like, failing him or failing, because again, this responsibility thing of Victor, did I do all this? In a way, could feel like it would be the ultimate failure. But with the chance and the opportunity to, he has to now go in. He has to go into these memories, these unreliable memories. Even, I'll give it that. As terrifying as it is, it has to happen. It's the only way it's going to move forward. It's the only chance that I may have of rectifying just this, even just with my dad. So yeah, it's an incredible journey for Victor, I think, that way. But I think that would be the biggest fear, is, imagine failing and failing him again.
and with regards to some of the relationships that he's kind of built but avoided building with some of the people
Yeah.
in town, how do you think things have progressed with Sarah specifically at this point? Because we did have that big moment
Yeah.
in five that is huge contrast to when he originally approaches her in three and four.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they bond very quickly. And I think that what's amazing is that there's this, like, once the wheels start turning on that whole thing, both their, they align their purpose, I think, to go and try and do the right thing. And she's coming from a place of, I think she says this in episode 5, of like, she wishes she could be seen as a good person. So she's got her thing. And I think that, there's just an obvious brother sister kind of bond there. Maybe that's just something that Victor was looking for in terms of trust. Uh, uh, and I think, yeah, it gets to a moment there where I think, because of that crisis that Victor's in 5, where she comes to him and goes, he tells her what's happening. She's
Mhm.
really the only person that he can, I think, really reveal that vulnerability to in that moment, you know, to say, to tell her what his fears are of this thing, and what will he think when he sees me. And I think that I'll tell you a little secret, was that at the end of that scene, there's a moment, I think it's there, where the two of us come together and I put my head on her shoulder, and that wasn't in the script originally. That just happened when we were shooting it. We started, like, things just started to happen, and and I think what's lovely about that moment, and that ended up there in the episode, was that that's just where that relationship naturally needed to go, I think, you know,
Yeah.
for that next.
Uh, for that next step. Yeah. Um, I think that we got to wrap. Thank you so much. I really love that part because that was like one of my favorite scenes. So
Oh,
I
thank you.
love when stuff like that just comes about kind of organically, which is a
Yeah.
word. I hate when showrunners use it online, but then, sometimes it works.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But it was just one of those beautiful, beautiful things that happened, and we thought, well, they'll use it or they won't. I mean, that's,
Yep,
we had a number of takes, but that was the one that they used, and I thought that was great because, again, it was just something that it just naturally, we didn't talk about it. It just all of a sudden started to happen naturally. So, yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing the rest of it.
Thanks. Great talking to you.